Hi everybody, it is Julia here, and today I thought we were going to make some paint and then we're going to use it because that is what I like to do with paint. Yeah, I know. Shocker, huh? These pigment samples, that's the word, I got from Claire on Instagram. I'm going to have her linked down below, no worries. She is an amazing artist. I mean, just full stop, full beginning. she is amazing. Her art is so inspiring and so beautiful, and she also makes her handmade watercolors, so totally check her out. I have her Etsy shop linked where she has her prints, and also her web shop where you can get both prints and watercolors. I was so excited when she had included these pigment samples in my package because I love nothing more than to test out new pigments, and especially these that isn't, what should you say, like quote unquote real pigments. She has made them by like finding all the bricks, that's a hard word, around her home or her home city. Yeah. And going back a little bit in my history, I have been painting houses, especially houses from the Netherlands and Poland, for quite some time, and that is, I was going to say my guilty pleasure, but I have no guilt about it whatsoever. I love them, and I still have a few old prints in my shop from those days, but I haven't been painting a lot of houses lately. I haven't been painting much lately, to be honest. But yeah, so when I opened the package and I read that she had made these pigments herself from bricks, old houses, and one of the things that I love to paint is houses from the Netherlands, I was just, yeah. So, why did it take so long? I don't know. I think it is when you get something very nice and you're like, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for a special occasion. Okay. Finally, I've been really working hard on doing all of my pigments. I have got into a little bit of a habit of buying new pigments, and then I don't have time to make them into paint because I make the paint I have already made, So if I have, I don't know how many colors I have in the shop, but let's say I have 40 or 50 colors. I'm going to remake them because people are asking for them. So it's a lot easier just to spend the time I have to remake the colors I know will sell instead of making colors just to try out the pigments. But that is something that I have been getting better at, and these last few weeks, a Friday night or a Saturday night, I have been just sitting down and making a very, very small batch of paint, like this amount. So what could that be, like 5 milliliters maybe? Just to get like, how does it pigment work to make it into a paint? How does it paint out? And then I have like a library of all of the pigments that I have. So that is a goal. I think I have a few more that I need to do, but yeah, so this was during one of those sort of sessions. I'm like, I should just do it, and I'm very happy I did. So here's the first one, and this one is a bit more red. As you can see, it is very transparent. It doesn't have any strong mass tone, but it is an old brick. So yeah, so it's very fun to see how different these pigments are, or how they turn out, and to be like, I don't know how to say it. When it comes to pigments, pretty much anything can be a pigment. If you go out and you take a handful of dirt or soil, you can make that into a pigment. So, and I mean, if you look at many of the traditional pigments, we have raw sienna, burnt sienna, we have the umbers and the ochres. Those are earth. We even have certain pigments that are called like terre verte or green earth. It is earth, it is dirt, and I think we sometimes forget. We feel like pigments are something magical and something that we can't really understand what it is, But pigments are pigments. It is ground up dirt, ground up stone. um, or if you have a sort of more liquid, it's a dye. But I'm definitely one of those that I can stand in front of my shelf with all of the pigments that I have spent so many money. I'm not going to even try to count how much money I've spent on the pigments that I have. And I'm like, oh, this is magical and all that. But in the end, it's colored dust, sort of. Which is truly what is covering all of my studio. So, yeah. And in the end, the dust that I have in the studio is grey. Well, it's very sparkly, but it's grey. So, yeah. Here we're going to swatch out the other one, and you can see they are pretty similar, but the second color definitely has a more of a neutral undertone compared to the first one. So, back on the track, what we're going to do here. So I've made these into colors, and it was very easy. They were easy to make into watercolor. They don't have a very strong mass tone, so they are very soft when you paint them out. I'm going to do some sketching here in this sketchbook. This is a landscape A4 from Paper Fashion that is produced by American Craft, but I don't think they make this anymore. I've been trying to look for more. I got this when they had when they were selling stuff out. But it has sort of hot press with a little bit of texture, so I like the paper. Anyway, in here I just put the sticker and the note that I got from her, and she also sent me some tea, so I just popped the note into this tea bag. I'm going to swatch out the colors, and then I sort of have a page dedicated to this this experience. Yeah. I want to be able to say what color is which color, but they are very similar, and so sorry. I was going to say, well, the first one and then the second one, but yeah. So what I decided to do, like I said, I love painting houses from Netherlands, but I haven't painted any houses from Hague. So I thought, why not? So I did some Googling, and I found a house that I was like, looks good to me, and I'm just going to sketch that out. And I'm not too bothered about proportions and if it's right. I just want to have a house because I like houses, and so that I can test the colors and see how they work when you actually paint them. There's a big difference in colors swatched out and being painted. Depending on how you paint and what techniques you use, that is something you really should keep in mind if you want to make handmade watercolors. When it comes to metallic watercolors, I just swatch them out. Typically, I don't do paintings with them. What I like to use with metallic watercolors is either mix them with other colors or have them on the brush and then dip the brush into a wet area so that you spread, or using them very concentrated for accents. I don't like paint with them. But when I make colors that are made of traditional pigments, they have a higher bar for what they need to be able to do. So for me, example, I want them to spread on the paper or on the page. These pigments, I did a few testings. When you have a wet area and then you have pigment on your brush or paint on your brush and then dip that onto the water just to see the flow of the paint. These two don't have any flow, which can be good or bad. It's something that you decide if it's good or bad depending on what you paint. Sometimes it's really good that the paint is flowing, and sometimes you want it to stay put. And that is just like any other qualities of the paint. You just need to know what you're working with. So that is something I, for one, use quite a lot of lifting, not as in I let it dry and then lift, but I put down a wash and then sort of fade out the edge, which is a lifting technique. So that is very important for me. If I have a color that I want to use in that way and it doesn't lift, then I will say it's a bad color. It's not a bad color, it's just that it doesn't work with the technique that I like to work with. So to know yourself and to know what techniques and qualities you're looking for in a paint is very important, especially if you make them yourself, because you're making them yourself and that is very expensive. It's one thing when you have a whole library with paint or pigments and you sell them and you make a profit so you can buy more. But if you want to make handmade watercolors for yourself, it's very important to know what color and also what qualities you're looking for in the paint. Otherwise, it will be so expensive. So, with that being said, here you can see I have used the more redder color on the sort of body of the house, and then the color has a more of a neutral tone for the roof. And then I decided to bring in one of my own, which is Stig, a raw umber. I just wanted to get something that was a little bit darker, but I still wanted to keep it into that sort of natural earth tone pigment, and I felt like a raw umber is pretty close to being pure dirt, So I'm going in with my raw umber into the windows, and just to create a little bit more contrast. These colors that I made, I really like them, but they are very soft and they don't have a strong mass tone, so I can build them up, but I won't be able to get like a strong contrast. So I decided to bring in the raw umber for that. And a little tip here, if you like to paint houses or anything that is small but with straight lines, go with a small flat brush. That will help so much to be able to get those sort of straight lines. I did go in and I tried to add a little bit more, especially of that color that had more like a red. I'm going in and adding a little bit more texture with that, and you can definitely do that. I mean, that is the beauty of watercolor, is that you can go in with a very light shade, that these colors are as a base or as they are a default, but you can go in and layer and build up that way. And I think it's really fun when we have something like this, because this will obviously be more of a mixed media piece. We have sort of pen and ink and a wash. But what I think is pretty fun, what you can do when you have a very light color like this, is embrace it. If these will be a little bit chalky to the touch, because I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it's a handmade pigment from something that is not supposed to be a pigment that will produce bright, clear color. So embrace that and go for the texture instead. I really like the sort of brick texture that I could get on the house. Now, this house is very small. You can see compared to my hand, it is less than 10 by 10 centimeters. So it is teeny tiny. Usually when I paint houses, I do it on an A4, so you can get a little bit more details into the piece. But just imagine doing this and then just really adding thick layers of that paint. I think that would look amazing. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I had so much fun to make the colors with the pigments and then doing a little painting with it. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to see you soon. Oh, and don't forget to check out Claire. Links are down below.